Welcome back to Money Mastery Now, the channel that helps you take control of your money, one smart habit at a time. If you want to master your budget, crush debt, and build lasting wealth, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Have you ever checked your bank account and thought, wait a second, how did I already spend that much this week? Maybe it wasn't a big purchase. It wasn't a new phone or a sudden weekend getaway. It was just small things, a few takeout meals, a couple of quick Amazon orders, an extra stop at the gas station. Nothing major on its own, but somehow, by the end of the week, your money just disappeared. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Tracking your spending is one of the simplest and most powerful financial habits you can build. But it's also one of the most neglected, not because it's hard, but because most people don't realize how valuable it actually is until they try it for themselves. In today's video, I want to show you how to track your daily spending easily and effectively. You won't need spreadsheets. You won't need to memorize categories. And no, you don't have to become a full-time bookkeeper either. We're going to talk about why tracking your spending every single day makes a bigger difference than doing it once a week or once a month. I'll also walk you through what most people get wrong when they try to track their expenses and why it causes them to give up. Then we'll look at 3 different ways to track your spending so you can choose the one that fits your life, not someone else's. And finally, I'll show you how to turn this habit into something you can actually stick with every single day in just a couple of minutes. So if you've ever felt like your money disappears and you don't know where it went, this video is for you. Let's get started. Most of us don't lose control of our finances in one big moment. We lose it in dozens of small decisions, tiny daily choices that don't feel like a big deal. The coffee run before work, the $5 add-on at checkout, the streaming subscription that's still active even though you haven't used it in months. These little things pile up. They don't feel dangerous, but they slowly erode your budget and, more importantly, your confidence. What's worse is that the gap between what we think we spend and what we actually spend is usually much bigger than we realize. A recent study found that more than half of Americans don't know how much they spent last month. Almost 3 out of 4 don't track their spending regularly at all. And the problem isn't that they're irresponsible. They're just trying to manage their money without any clear feedback. Imagine trying to get healthier without ever stepping on a scale or tracking your meals. You'd be guessing. You'd think you're doing okay. Until one day you realize things are off course. That's what happens with money when you don't track it. You're flying blind. Budgeting without tracking is like driving with no dashboard, no speedometer, no fuel gauge, no GPS. You're just guessing, hoping you're on the right path. That's why tracking your spending on a daily basis is so powerful. Daily tracking gives you immediate feedback. It helps you notice problems early, instead of realizing them after the damage is done. It's the difference between making small course corrections and crashing into a wall at the end of the month. Now, here's where most people run into trouble. You might get motivated and say, okay, I'm going to take control of my money. You download an app. You buy a nice notebook. You decide to log every receipt, every dollar, every category. On day 1, you feel great. Day 2, you're still committed. Day 3, it starts to feel like work. By day 5, you've missed a few entries. Then you start falling behind. By the end of week 2, you're already feeling like a failure. So you give up. Sound familiar? It's not because you're lazy. It's because the method didn't match your life. Most people make the same mistakes when they try to track their spending. They try to be perfect. They obsess over every category. They wait too long between check-ins. Or they use tools that are too complex for what they actually need. And worst of all, they track without meaning. They write down the numbers, but they forget why they're doing it. So it feels pointless. And they stop. But here's the truth. Tracking doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be consistent. And it doesn't need to be detailed to be effective. It just needs to help you see your behavior clearly enough to make better choices. When you track your spending daily, you learn about yourself. You learn about your habits. You learn what triggers your impulse spending. You begin to notice patterns. You see how often you choose convenience over savings. You understand how little decisions affect your big goals. And that awareness, that's where real change begins. Financial transformation doesn't start with a big paycheck. It starts with paying attention every day, a little bit at a time. So don't worry, we're not going to tell you to record every penny for the rest of your life. What we're going to do next is show you 3 methods to track your daily spending that are actually easy to stick with. Whether you love using apps, prefer writing things down, or want something in between, you'll find an approach that works for you. Because when the method fits your lifestyle, tracking your spending doesn't feel like work, it feels like freedom. Let's take a look at those methods next. So now that we understand why daily spending awareness is so powerful, let's talk about how to actually do it. I'm going to walk you through 3 different methods to track your spending. These aren't complex financial systems. They don't require fancy tools or hours of work. These are simple, practical methods that you can start today no matter where you are in your financial journey. The first method is what I call the notebook method. It's exactly what it sounds like. You use a small notebook, or even the Notes app on your phone, and write down everything you spend each day. The idea is not to be perfect, but to be present. You don't need to categorize every transaction. Just write down what it was, how much it cost, and maybe a short note about why you spent it. For example, Tuesday, March 5th, $11 lunch at work, or 6 iced coffee on the way home. That's it. This method works best if you're someone who prefers physical writing or needs to slow down and reflect. Writing something down by hand creates a mental connection. It helps you become more aware of your decisions. It also builds mindfulness. You start thinking twice before swiping your card because you know you'll have to write it down later. That moment of pause, that's where your awareness kicks in. That's where change begins. You don't need to record every penny for the rest of your life. But doing this for just 2 weeks can reveal patterns you've never noticed. It shows you where your money actually goes. And that clarity is priceless. The downside of the notebook method is that it requires consistency. You have to remember to do it daily. And if you miss a day or two, it can be hard to fill in the blanks. But for many people, that simplicity and directness is exactly what makes it work. Now let's move on to the second method, the app method. This is perfect for people who prefer technology to do the heavy lifting. Instead of writing things down manually, you connect your bank account or credit card to a budgeting app that automatically tracks your spending. Some of the most popular options are apps like Copilot, You Need a Budget, or Monarch. These apps sync your transactions, categorize them, and show you charts or reports so you can see where your money is going. It's like having a financial assistant in your pocket. When you log in, you can see a breakdown of how much you've spent on groceries, dining out, subscriptions, gas, and everything else. Many of these apps also let you set alerts when you're close to overspending in a category, or remind you to review your spending each week. The biggest advantage of this method is speed. Everything is automated. You don't need to remember every transaction, and you don't have to log every purchase by hand. It's perfect for busy people who still want visibility without the daily effort. But here's the catch. Automation doesn't mean autopilot. Just because the app is collecting the data doesn't mean you're actually engaging with it. You still need to look at the numbers. You still need to check in. If you never open the app, if you never reflect on the categories, then it's just another tool you're not using. So if you choose this method, commit to opening your app every day or at least a few times a week and looking at your spending. Even a 2-minute scan can keep you on track. Now, let's talk about the third method. This is what I call the hybrid method. This method is for people who want the convenience of automation but still want a personal connection to their money. It combines technology with intentional reflection. Here's how it works. You use an app to automatically track your transactions. But once a day or every couple of days, you open that app, look through your recent spending, and record a few notes in your journal, planner, or even a voice memo. You might say, I spent more on takeout than I meant to today, or happy that I stuck to my grocery budget. This doesn't have to be detailed or structured. It's just a moment to pause, reflect, and reconnect with your behavior. This hybrid approach gives you the best of both worlds. You get the accuracy and convenience of automatic tracking, and the mindfulness that comes from writing or reflecting intentionally. It turns your money habits into a dialogue. You're not just watching your spending, you're having a conversation with it. And that creates lasting awareness. So, let's recap briefly. If you like writing things down and want to slow down your thinking, the notebook method is a great place to start. If you want speed and automation, and you're comfortable using apps, then the app method is your go-to. And if you want both tracking and reflection, try the hybrid method. Let the app do the work, and then take a few minutes to review it in your own way. There is no one-size-fits-all here. What matters is that your method fits your lifestyle. It should feel easy enough to do consistently and personal enough to mean something. Now, whichever method you choose, the key to success is making it part of your daily rhythm, not once a week, not only when you overspend, but every day. Just like brushing your teeth, you do it because it keeps things clean. It prevents problems from piling up. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to show up. In the next part of this video, we'll look at how to actually turn your chosen method into a daily habit that sticks. We'll explore the best time of day to check in, how to pair tracking with your existing routines, and how to make the whole process feel rewarding instead of annoying. Because when tracking your spending becomes a habit, that's when the real transformation begins. Let's keep going. Now that you've chosen a method that fits your life, it's time to talk about the most important part of all turning tracking into a habit. Because here's the truth. Even the best method won't help if you only use it once in a while. Consistency is where the power lies. And the good news is, creating a daily tracking habit doesn't have to be hard. You just need the right system and a bit of strategy. Let's start with the timing. The best time to track your spending is whenever it fits naturally into your day. For some people, that's first thing in the morning. You're fresh, you're focused, and you can start your day with a financial check-in. For others, it might be right before bed reviewing the day's spending like a reflection exercise. Maybe it's during your lunch break, or while waiting in the pickup line after work. There's no perfect time, only the time that works for you. But the key is to make it consistent. Choose one moment in your daily routine and tie your spending check into it. If you already have habits that you do every day, like drinking morning coffee, brushing your teeth, or journaling, add tracking to that habit. That's called habit stacking, and it makes the new habit easier to remember. For example, you could say to yourself, after I make my coffee, I'll open my budgeting app. Or, right before I brush my teeth at night, I'll write down what I spent today. That simple cue helps your brain create a new loop, and once you've repeated it for a week or two, it becomes second nature. Now let's talk about friction. Friction is anything that makes a habit harder to do. If your notebook is buried in your drawer, you won't reach for it. If your app is hidden on the third screen of your phone, you'll forget about it. So your job is to reduce friction. Make your tracking tool obvious and easy to access. Keep your notebook on your desk or nightstand. Move your budgeting app to the home screen of your phone. Add a daily reminder or calendar event if you need to. Set up little cues in your environment to make it easier to remember. And here's a powerful tip: pair your tracking time with something you enjoy. Make it a cozy moment. Brew some tea, light a candle, play your favorite music. Turn it into a ritual that feels good. That way, it's not just a task, it becomes a moment of peace. A daily pause where you check in with your money and with yourself. Now, let's address something a little deeper, the emotional part. Because the truth is, tracking your spending might bring up feelings. Maybe you feel guilt about overspending. Maybe shame about certain purchases. Maybe anxiety about debt or how much you're not saving. If you felt that way, it's okay. The purpose of tracking is not to judge yourself. It's not to beat yourself up for every little mistake. It's to become aware. That's all. And awareness is neutral. It's just information. When you give yourself permission to look at your money without shame, you open the door to change. So be kind to yourself. If you overspent one day, don't skip tracking. That's actually the most important day to check in. Write it down, acknowledge it, and move forward. One off day doesn't ruin your progress, giving up does. Think of it like brushing your teeth. If you forget one night, you don't throw out your toothbrush. You just brush again the next day. That's how you should treat your money habits. 2. If you need help staying consistent, find a way to make it social. Tell a friend you're building this habit. Ask your partner to do it with you. Join an online group or community where people share their progress. You don't have to do this alone. Some people even like to use tracking challenges. For example, commit to tracking your spending every day for 14 days. Or challenge yourself to spend only on essentials for a week and log everything. Turning it into a short challenge can make it feel more exciting and give you a clear finish line to work toward. And remember, this isn't forever. You don't have to track every purchase every day for the rest of your life. But doing it for a few weeks, that can reset your awareness. It can build the habit. And once the habit is in place, you'll be able to check in more naturally without much effort. So, here's a quick example. Let's say you decide to use the hybrid method. You check your app every evening at 9 p.m., right after brushing your teeth. You look over the day's spending. See that you spent $18 on lunch and $6 on coffee. And then you jot down one sentence in your journal. I stayed under my food budget today. Or, tomorrow, I'll bring lunch from home. That whole process takes 2 minutes, maybe 3. But it keeps your awareness sharp. It keeps you grounded. And over time, it transforms your relationship with money. The goal is not perfection. It's connection. You want to stay connected to your spending so that your money is aligned with your values. Because when you know where your money is going, you feel more confident. You feel more in control. And that's when you start making better decisions, not out of fear, but from clarity. In the next part of this video, we're going to walk through a full example of what it looks like to track your spending for an entire week. We'll follow a character named Anna, see what she spends, how she tracks it, and how her awareness shifts by the end of the week. That way, you can see exactly how this works in real life and how you can do it too. Let's jump into that story. Let me introduce you to Anna. Anna is 34 years old. She works as a freelance graphic designer, lives in a small apartment in Atlanta, and has a busy but flexible lifestyle. She makes enough to cover her bills and a bit more, but she always ends the month wondering where her money went. One day, she finally decided enough was enough. She wasn't going to do a full budget overhaul. Not yet. She just wanted to know what she was spending day by day. So she committed to a 7-day challenge. 1 week of tracking her spending. That's it. No guilt. No pressure. Just information. Here's what happened. On day 1, Anna spent a normal Monday. She made coffee at home and worked from her kitchen table. Around noon, she felt hungry and ordered delivery 18 for a sandwich and iced tea. Later that day, she remembered she needed paper for her printer. She went to a local shop and picked up some supplies, $23 total. That evening, she wrote in her notebook, $18 lunch, 23 office supplies. She was surprised at how much those 2 small decisions added up. Over $40, and she hadn't even left her neighborhood. Day 2, she tried something different. Instead of ordering lunch, she made a simple salad from groceries she already had. $0 spent during the day. That night, though, she got bored and started browsing online. 20 minutes later, she bought a new throw blanket and a candle. Total cost, $38. She wrote it down with a small note beside it. Impulse buy. Was feeling a little down. That note was important. It wasn't just about tracking dollars, it was about tracking patterns. And that small act of reflection, it gave her something to think about. On day 3, Anna had a good rhythm. She made coffee at home, had leftovers for lunch, and only spent $4 on parking when she met a friend for a walk in the park. When she logged her spending that night, she felt proud. Low spend day. She wrote, "No regrets." By day 4, she hit a bump. She had a frustrating work call in the afternoon and felt drained. On the way home from picking up a package, she stopped for bubble tea, $7. Then she bought a book she saw in the shop window, $21. That night, she added everything to her tracker. But instead of judging herself, she just wrote down one sentence: stress spending. That awareness changed something. On day 5, she planned ahead. She prepped lunch in the morning and scheduled a walk after work instead of shopping. Her only spending that day was $5 for a coffee when meeting a client. That night, she reflected, still spent money, but it felt intentional. For the first time, she wasn't reacting, she was choosing. By day 6, Anna felt a shift. She noticed she was checking her bank account more often. She was thinking twice before buying. And when she did spend, it was with awareness. She picked up groceries $50 and stuck to her list. She even said no to a second bottle of wine, telling herself, that's a want, not a need. She wrote that down too, making better choices without feeling restricted. Then came day 7. She went to brunch with a friend, $26. She tipped well, laughed a lot, and didn't feel guilty. Later, she bought flowers for herself, $12. And you know what? She didn't regret a single dollar, because she had planned for it, because she knew what she was spending, because she felt in control. At the end of the week, Anna sat down and looked over her notes. 7 days, dozens of transactions, and a clearer picture than she'd ever had before. Here's what she realized. She wasn't terrible with money. She was just unaware. She wasn't overspending all the time. She just had a few key triggers: boredom, stress, and convenience that led to unplanned purchases. She didn't need to cut out every joy. She just needed to be intentional. That week of tracking didn't make her perfect. It made her powerful. The small act of writing things down, of noticing, of checking in with herself, that changed her behavior more than any budget ever had. And here's the best part. She didn't spend hours doing it, just a few minutes a day. At night, usually with tea and music, a simple, quiet ritual that connected her to her money. Now, 2 months later, Anna still tracks her spending almost every day. Sometimes she misses a night, but she always comes back. It's no longer a task. It's a habit, a practice, a tool that helps her live on purpose. So if you've been wondering whether this small habit is worth the time, take it from Anna. 7 days. That's all it takes to change how you see your spending. Not with shame, not with rules, just with attention. In the final part of this video, we'll talk about how to take what you've tracked and use it to improve your budget. Because daily tracking isn't just about looking back. It's about shaping how you move forward. Let's finish strong. You've made it this far. You've learned how to track your spending. You've found a method that fits your lifestyle. Maybe you've even started tracking already. But here's the question. Now what? What do you actually do with the information you've gathered? Because tracking is only the beginning. What really matters is what you learn from it and how you use it to make better decisions going forward. So let's talk about how to turn your daily tracking into real, lasting improvement in your financial life. The first step is to look for patterns. After a week or two of tracking, take a few minutes to review your notes. Look not just at the numbers, but at the story behind them. What are your common spending categories? When do you tend to spend impulsively? Are there specific days or times when you're more likely to reach for your wallet? For example, maybe you notice that you spend more on Fridays, or that you tend to order takeout after long meetings, or that your shopping habits spike when you're feeling tired or stressed. This isn't about judgment, it's about awareness. When you see the patterns, you begin to understand your behavior, and once you understand, you can plan around it. Let's say you realize you always overspend on weekends. Now you can plan for that. Build a little extra cushion into your weekend budget, or choose one weekend meal to cook at home instead of eating out. Small shifts like that, guided by real data, can make a big difference. Next, use your tracking to refine your budget. A lot of people create a budget based on guesses. They estimate how much they spend on food or gas or entertainment. But when you track your spending, you stop guessing. You have real numbers. You might have budgeted $200 for groceries, but your tracking shows you usually spend closer to $260. That's not failure. That's feedback. Now you can adjust your budget to reflect your reality or make a clear plan to reduce spending in a sustainable way. And when you make those adjustments based on actual experience, your budget becomes more effective, more honest, more likely to stick. Another benefit of tracking is that it helps you spot leaks. Financial leaks are the small, unnoticed expenses that drain your money without adding much value. Things like forgotten subscriptions, delivery fees, rounding errors, that extra $7 here or $12 there that you never meant to spend. When you track daily, you catch these leaks early. You can cancel what you don't use. You can find cheaper alternatives. You can plug the holes and redirect that money toward things that matter. Now let's talk about mindset. One of the biggest shifts you'll experience through daily tracking is how you feel about money. You go from avoiding it to facing it, from confusion to clarity, from frustration to confidence. That's not just practical. That's emotional. Tracking builds financial self-trust. It proves to you that you're paying attention, that you care, that you're capable. And over time, that creates momentum. You start to notice wins. You stay under budget for the week. You resist an impulse buy. You reach a small savings goal. These moments feel good and they motivate you to keep going. So how often should you review your spending data? Ideally, once a week. Set aside 15 or 20 minutes to look back at what you've spent. Ask yourself a few questions. Did my spending align with my values this week? Were there any surprises? What would I like to do differently next week? If you're using an app, check the reports and charts. If you're using a notebook, read over your entries. Highlight anything that stands out. This weekly review is like a reset button. It brings your attention back to your goals. It reminds you why you're doing this in the first place. And it gives you a fresh chance to make adjustments without shame or stress. Now, here's something powerful. Your tracking data doesn't just help you spend better. It helps you plan better. When you know your spending habits, you can make smarter decisions about upcoming months. You can build more realistic budgets. You can set savings goals with confidence. You can prepare for annual costs like holidays or insurance bills without panic. And the more you track, the more flexible you become, because life will change. Your income will shift. Your expenses will fluctuate. But if you're in the habit of tracking, you can adapt. You'll never feel completely lost because you'll always have a map. So let's zoom out for a moment. You started this video maybe feeling uncertain, maybe a little overwhelmed, maybe just tired of not knowing where your money goes. And now, you have the tools. You know why daily tracking matters. You know how to do it. And you know what to do with the insights it gives you. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to log every penny forever. You just need to pay attention, a little bit every day. Because when you do that, everything changes. Money becomes less stressful. Goals become more achievable. And budgeting stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like power. So here's your action step. Choose your method. Start tracking today. Just for 7 days. Not forever. Just 1 week of noticing. At the end of that week, you'll see something you didn't see before. And that insight, that's your first step toward control, clarity, and freedom. If you found this video helpful, make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, and share it with someone who needs it. And in our next episode, we'll go deeper into a topic that builds on everything we talked about today: how to build an emergency fund. And more importantly, how much you really need to feel safe and secure. Until then, remember, tracking your spending is not about controlling your life. It's about reclaiming it. You work hard for your money. Now it's time to make your money work hard for you. Thanks for watching Money Mastery Now. See you in the next one.